this morning, you may not give it much thought until disaster strikes and you need to go to the emergency room. Well, for the very last thing on most of our minds is what the heck we're going to do when we get there. And there are all the details we need to do and to get in on in case we need that help. So this morning, we've done the work for you. Watch as Dr. Andrew Carroll shows us how to maneuver an emergency room to make your next visit a lot easier.
You know, as a physician, one of the questions I commonly get is my problem an emergency? You need to make sure that it's something that threatens life or limb before you walk through these doors. But if it's something that you've been dealing with for the last 3 or 4 days, something that isn't maybe an emergency, maybe you should call your doctor or visit an urgent care instead. But if it is an emergency, that's what we're here for, and we're going to talk about the things you need to do once you get here. Now that you've decided that your problem is an emergency, you need to bring your medications with you, and that may be as simple as sweeping all your medications into a plastic bag. Make sure you bring your doctor's name and number and a relative if possible. If you get to this area and you cannot get out of your car, have your relative come and grab a wheelchair for you, or if you're driving yourself, just honk your horn and somebody at the reception desk will give you a hand. Once you get here to the reception area, you want to make sure you give them your personal information, an insurance card if you have one, and if you don't worry about it. They'll work it out with you afterwards. And the most important reason why you're here. Some of the things that frustrate people is wondering why it takes so long to wait in your waiting room. And it's because in the back, there's these ambulances going continuously. So even though you don't see a lot of activity up front, they may be busy in the back. And what you tell triage may be the most important part of your visit. After going to the reception desk, you'll come here to the triage room. Now, some people associate triage with a disaster, but what triage really means is assessing you for the degree of your emergency. Now, that means just telling them what your symptoms are, you know, chest pain. But don't tell them just chest pain. Tell them crushing chest pain, because that is different from sharp chest pain. Gasping for breath is different from shortness of breath. If you come in here and you tell them that all you got is a cold, guess what? You're going to be waiting about a good 4 to 6 hours. But if you got crushing substernal chest pain, you're going to be rushed back. What you tell the triage nurse puts you in that long line. Now, this is a typical emergency room exam room. Now, if you wonder why we don't have walls, it's so they can see you from the nurse's station. It's here you're going to give your nurse your information, your medical history, your prescription list, and again, the reason why you're there. They're going to assess you and bring that information to the doctor, and your initial treatment decisions are going to be made, such as IVs, any medications, and maybe even some imaging like a CAT scan. And they're going to make that determination about whether or not you're going to be hospitalized or be sent home. And you may be wondering why it takes so long to make that determination. Well, they're reviewing your labs, they're looking at any diagnostic imaging that they've done, and they're going to make a decision about whether or not your problem is of such a nature that you actually need to be watched 24 hours a day, or if this is something that they can treat you for and send you home. Now, if you're lucky enough to be discharged home, you're going to be getting a stack of prescriptions along with a discharge summary. It's very important that you take that discharge summary home and review it, because it's going to give you your diagnosis, the prescriptions you were given, why you're taking those medications, and who you should follow up with afterwards. Make sure you take those prescriptions to a pharmacy right away and get them filled, and make those appointments with your physician and any specialist you may have been recommended to. So I hope we were able to answer some questions about a trip to the emergency room. And even though having an emergency can be a scary experience, going to the emergency room doesn't really have to be.
And if you would like to get in touch with Dr. Andrew Carroll, call him at Renaissance Family Medical Care, the number 480-282-8336. Well, speaking of A-listers, because he is one of them,